Trish Ladner today too, okay? It's been stated that go after brown people. You sat on the council, Dave Burris.
Yep, and I'm brown.
And that's right.
Yep.
You have a wife that's native. You want to see her drug out of there? What would you do? What would you do? This is my time to speak, okay? And I'm standing up for the Native community. And as far as the county commissioner, shame on you for one thing. You talked about this before. When was the general public made aware of this? Is being made aware of it tonight? It's on video now. I got a phone call 2 hours before council tonight. This is one of the reasons why I stepped off of council, because it was too much for me to handle. I have severe PTSD, okay? I don't want to sit in my home worried that if I go out the door, going and getting picked up because of the color of my skin. Yes, this is not spray on orange tan, people. This is real. All right? Deb, you and I may have not always got along on council, but you know what, tonight, I strongly support you in your comments. Everything you're saying is correct.
I thought we would have learned from World War II about concentration camps and internment camps. And that's what these would be.
And I thought we would have learned at 1492 what happens to Native Americans in this country. Yep. My people were killed to give each and every one of you the right to sit in this center here and to sit on council. I want you to think about that. How many of my people were killed so that you would have your rights today? When was it my people were given the right to become U.S. citizens? And now we're going to get that took away? All right, anyway, thanks. And thanks for not smoking.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Larry. Anyone else from the public have anything you want to talk with council about? All right, we'll move on. Council updates, Executive Director, Andrea.
Good evening, Mayor Nelson, City Council, County Commissioners. Right next to Joe, I think you're the only individual I don't know.
Me?
That'd be you.
That'd be you, Larry.
Yeah, I can't hardly hear.
I'm sorry. What's your name?
Randy Graham,
Randy Graham, and you are?
Ward 1 City Council.
Okay, welcome. I know everybody else.
Thank you.
I'm Andrea. I'm with Southern Hills Economic Development Corporation. I do the economic development portion of matters for Fall River County. And I have my quarterly report tonight. Shedco is planning to complete a 5-year strategic planning process this fall. The process is going to cost us $5,000. That will include the cost of a facilitator, a survey process, and follow-up. We'd like to have very much the participation of City Council and some county commissioners. It's always been my desire to integrate our strategic plans and goals with those of the city and the county. So you will receive an invitation to participate, and I hope that you will accept that invitation. We really want you at the table. Commissioner visit. Earlier in July, the Economic Development Commissioner for the Governor's Office, Bill Evans, visited Hot Springs. We toured the downtown district with all its new features. We discussed our historic preservation needs. We also talked about industry sectors that are a good fit for the county and the communities that are in the county, and the potential for an industrial park. Later, in mid-August, our new Western Dakota Technical College president, Dr. Erickson, will visit Hot Springs to tour our satellite nursing program that's up at the State VA Hospital and discuss our further post-secondary education needs. Department of Labor apprenticeships. In early July, I met with Dave Gates, who's the head of the Veterans Helping Hands Project, and Bill Christensen, the DOL Apprenticeship Coordinator, to strategize around apprenticeship programs for veterans in our area. After reviewing all the requirements, we determined 7 approved apprenticeships that would be a good fit for the Helping Hands Project. Those are camera operator, construction laborer, chef, carpenter, plumber, welder, and mechanic. That's not to say there are not many more. That's what we were able to discuss and work through in a 2-hour period. New manufacturing business. A new value-added ag manufacturing business is locating into our area in the next year. They estimate between 14 and 16 tech jobs. In the case of the new business startup or relocation, any of those programs or businesses, Shedco performs a number of services. We provide guidance around zoning, regulations, utilities, and infrastructure. We research state and federal grants and loans to address land acquisition, equipment purchases, workforce training, and research and development. The Governor's Office of Economic Development partners closely with us on those endeavors. At the local level, we also assist with 501c3 filings, housing availability, and employee recruitment. Co-starter facilitation. I met with Dakota Resource, or I will meet at the end of this week with Dakota Resources personnel and my colleague from Sturgis to determine what our fall launch of the Co-Starters Facilitation Program will entail. I think I told you at a previous meeting that I'm hoping to do a Co-Starter program for youth entrepreneurs in the school district, and then I'd like to set up one that's specifically for veterans in the area who are interested in starting their own businesses. And then, of course, we would have one for the general public as well. The program is, I just said that, the program is designed for new entrepreneurs and those who are looking to expand. And lastly, Habitat for Humanity has launched a new Habitat Handyman program, which allows homeowners to apply for assistance with small projects. The program is open to anyone. It doesn't matter what your income is or your age bracket, nothing. It has a ceiling of $5,000 per household, and I do have a call into the office, the Habitat for Humanity offices, to determine whether the funds could be used for property cleanup. So really cool new program. And lastly, and foremost, I'd like to thank the city for your continued investment. You are our return on investment. All these things that we do for free, and your investment is what enables us to do these activities. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Do you have a copy of those notes?
I do.
On the Habitat for Humanity, you were saying 5,000. Can the elderly use that for basic cleanup and repair around their homes?
How it's going to work is they will come down and do an assessment of the project, whatever that project turns out being. And what goes into that 5,000 is the cost of materials and payment to their person to do the work. I was told that if we have enough demand in this area, they will create a position here to do that work. I have called them, or I have emailed them, trying to set up a phone call to address the question of can these funds be used for property cleanup. I know that we have people that are elderly and cannot do the cleanup themselves, but they do need it done. So I'm really hoping I can make a viable argument to support that.
Not in just my ward, but in all the wards, and all over the community, we have elderly that just need minor repairs. But
Yes, and
their
that's
biggest,
exactly what this is for.
their biggest concern is clean up around their place and put it into position that they can actually maintain it a little more simply for themselves.
Okay.
And that's why I was asking that question.
Yeah, I think your smaller ADA compliance projects or any, they haven't put anything off limits.
Really? Okay.
Not yet. And so it's a brand-new program. They put out a press release in Rapid City about a month ago, and I happened to get wind of it, so I called Scott and asked him, and it's a pretty general approach right now, so I don't know what would be excluded. So far, nothing, it just sounds too good to be true, really.
Truly,
Yeah.
that statement is true.
Yeah.
It does, because what you brought up in bringing this up is some of the things that some of the elderly have come to me just as a neighbor to help them do these things, and there's the same phrase is always brought up. They live on a fixed income. The 1960s retirement or 80s retirement is nothing for the expenses of 2025. And really what they want is to just do enough construction or cleanup so they can get themselves the ability to be able to maintain it themselves. But it's a big jump from where they are now to where they would like to be.
Absolutely.
So that's what really interests me.
And I came up with the notion of asking about the cleanup aspect, and could that be funded, after having a long conversation with Wes about the needs in our community and the things that he's been doing to try and help people.
Okay. I would really be interested. I'm going to talk with some of my constituents,
And I will put
my
an
neighbors.
article in the paper. And I did look at the application process. It's super easy, but I am happy to help anybody walk through it, because I know there are a number of folks in the community who do not use email.
Yeah,
And it is an online application.
great. I'm going to spread the word with
Yeah,
that.
good. Anything else?
Are there more apprenticeship positions open, or is that closed for now?
No, it's always open. It's
Great.
a cyclical thing. I can take anybody who wants to be a mentor or anybody who wants to apprentice in a certain field and try to put them together and meet with Bill to set up the apprenticeship. Again,
That's
these are
awesome.
all nationally certified apprenticeships, so they're recognized across the country.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Gary Baker, Darkoi. Fall River Emergency Managers.
Hey guys. So anyway, tonight we're dropping off the local emergency operations plan. And once we get it delivered to all the cities, the commissioners will make the final approval probably at the next commission meeting. But it is just a blueprint, if you will. If something happens, and it's not specific to any one emergency, because emergencies have a lot of things in common. People need food, people need shelter, so that we don't really designate, a lot of things that are specific, but just overall treatment of our community should an emergency happen. Gary was in touch with our state cohort this year. We added some annexes about pet care and things like that weren't in there before, because as they're learning in Texas, that got to be a big deal about where they went with their animals. So look it over. I mean, it's kind of a done deal for this year, but we do it again. But I'm going to stress that this is not a public document. This is for the council, because if we have to take measures, and in the world we live in, we don't want anybody knowing what we're going to do before we do it, because it can get ugly. I mean, when you start luring firefighters into a scene and start shooting at them, the world that we're in these days, we don't want this plan in the hands of people that know where we're going to go when an emergency happens. So, the other thing that we're working on in the council council's had representation in our hazard mitigation plan. That's every 5 years. And what that plan does, it allows anybody, city, county, to apply for federal funding, if there ever is federal funding again. But if we don't do the hazard mitigation plan, then we're not eligible for it in the county. And we're getting close to the end now. Our CWPP is kind of the last hurdle we have to cover. And that, for those of you who don't know what that means, that's the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. And that it kind of got to where people were not doing the CWPP because it wasn't part of the HMP. I know this salad of letters I'm throwing out, when I took this job, it drove me crazy. But I mean, when you, but if the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, so they tied it to the HMP so that it gets done at least every 5 years, and that we see where, I mean, we've identified a lot of areas that may need some treatment work from varying agencies and grants and that sort of thing to reduce our wildfire potential. So that's kind of really all we got. If you got any questions, Gary's got answers. No, I probably have answers. But
again, this is not for public eye, this is for commissioner and elected officials, eyes only.
Right.
Thank you.
And it's, I mean, you know how it is in a small town. You can't do anything that stays completely secret. But the idea is that we don't want people to know our plan better than we do. So that's kind of the reason it's private.
Exactly.
Nothing?
Any questions, council?
We haven't seen it yet, so then that's when you get,
We've had it before.
Yeah, we've had it before. It's just,
I know.
all we've added is the annexes this year. So
Okay.
it won't be a completely new document to you.
all right.
Yeah, 171 pages, and when I handed it, the one copy to the commissioners, Les Cope said, "You don't expect me to read this, do you?" Anyway, no, it's pretty detailed, but when it comes to an emergency, you would need to be able to open up a blueprint and see what you're going to start doing with people. So that's why we put the time and effort we have into this document.
As JR said, thank you for reminding us and the public that it's not a public document and the reason behind that. It's important for them to know, especially with the recent incident in Idaho that happened. It's a perfect example of.
They just did another one on the East Coast too, started a house on fire, started shooting firefighters on each other.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Deb, Joe, we're getting close to you. All right. On to our ordinances. Our first ordinance tonight, ordinance item A. Going to get a motion for the first reading of ordinance 1267.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 1267, an ordinance revising Title IX General Regulations, Chapter 93, Fire Prevention and Protection, 93.01, Definitions, 93.03, Fire Department, 93.04, Fires and Burning, 93.06, Fireworks, 93.08, Storing Gun and Blasting Powder.
Second.
Discussion?
Thank you.
Misty, would you call the roll, please?
Craig Romy,
Yes.
Linda Barbell,
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston.
Yes.
Deborah Johnston.
Yes.
Dave Burris.
Yes.
Randy Graham.
Yes.
Bill Lukens.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion passes. On to ordinance item B. Can I get a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 1274?
I make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 1274, an ordinance changing the zoning designation on certain real properties located at 1829 Minnetonka, legally described as Moccasin Springs, Lot 1 and 2 of Block 28, Second Minnetonka addition to Hot Springs, Fall River County, South Dakota, from the residential RA zoning designation to a mixed use, which is mixed 1 designation.
Second.
Discussion. Misty, would you call the roll?
Dave Burris,
Yes.
Linda Varvel,
Yes.
Deborah Johnston,
Yes.
Randy Graham,
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston,
Yes.
Bill Lukens,
Yes.
Craig Romy.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion passes. Well, how quickly we get to 7:30? That's what I mentioned to Joe and Deborah. I thought we'd be able to get to the new business item. It was around 7:30.
That's all right, we got all night.
Here we are.
We've been known to do that.
I have a request to take a 5-minute pause. Before we get into this, this may be a lengthy discussion, maybe not. But if we could just take a 5-minute break. So let's reconvene at 8 o'clock. Let's go ahead and reconvene at 8:01. Brings us to our first new business item, discussion only item, dispatch agreement with Fall River County. And again, this is discussion only. There will be no decision made tonight. This is a topic that I want to thank Joe and Deb for making yourselves available to join us in this discussion. We've been having this discussion with the county for 3 years now, as far as what the correct amount for dispatch services from the city of Hot Springs to the county should be. The agreement that was in place from 2004, 2005 through 2023, if I'm remembering my number or my years correctly, it started out at $55,000 in 2004, 2005, and it didn't increase until 2023 when the county asked for an increase in the amount that the city contributes towards dispatch services. In 2023, they made a request to increase that amount by 50%. And Deb and Joe, if I misstate anything, correct me where I get it wrong. But we went from $55,000 to $82,500 in 1 year. The following year, they asked for another increase of 24% from $82,500 to $102,500, which is the amount that we're currently at for the 2025. And I believe you folks are asking for an increase in that amount of 30%. Is that correct? So that would take the amount to $133,250. My question for you is, what amount are you trying to get to? 50%, 24%, 30% increases are pretty healthy yearly increases. So if you could help the council understand, where are you trying to get to?
At this time, I'd like to defer to Lyle has some historical data, and I guess what I was thinking when I agreed to come was that we would give the public a perspective of what we're dealing with, kind of, and just lay out some facts, and so that everybody is on the same page
Okay.
with some facts. So I'll turn it to Lyle.
Okay, so this is just one copy? Yes. For all of you, so would you prefer I scan and email this to you?
County can't afford 8 copies?
That was my copy. So for
Do
clarification.
you want to read off of this? And then
No, I don't need to
Okay.
read off of it. What I handed Misty is statistics for the last 11 years. And what those statistics are calls for service. Calls for service from the county and everywhere in the county. and calls from the city, and everywhere in the city with those calls. And Melissa's here to back me up because she's the one that compiled these statistics. But what they are is law enforcement, ambulance service, fire department, every first responder for both the city and the county and their respective calls for those years. Like, if you look at it, it's pretty much 50-50. And when I say 50-50, I'm just going to use a number. Let's say there were 5,000 calls for service last year in the county. There were also 5,000 calls for service in the city. So what we're saying is the city is using 50% of our dispatch. Just as much, they're using just as much of our dispatch as we are, as the county is, of the county's dispatch. So, and I listened to Mayor Nelson give the statistics of the increases that have happened recently, and it sounds pretty accurate to me. And before we go any further, I just want to say we do appreciate those increases, your willingness to make those increases over the last 3 years. That being said, I have some other data here, unless you've got other questions about, and I know you haven't seen it, but the stuff that I gave.
Yeah, we can pass it down. I'd just like to get it back for the record.
Well, when you're talking about calls for service, are you taking fire, ambulance, city police as part of that 50%, and then other 50% is ambulance for you guys outside the city?
Correct.
Et cetera?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
So what it actually is for the city of Hot Springs, it is for the police department, fire department, ambulance service, as well as utilities, the city water, city street, and animal control, that is compelled in one set. And then on the other side, we have the sheriff's office, Edgemont Ambulance Force, ambulance, Lori. So on the other side, for the sheriff's office portion of the Fall River County side, it is the sheriff's office calls for service, which is everything, just like the police department. But then it's also sharing the Edgemont Ambulance Fire, Boris Ambulance Fire, Ardmore, Angostura, all the other fire departments, not including the Hot Springs one. So everything outside Hot Springs city limits is under the Fall River County side. Everything in Hot Springs is on the Hot Springs side.
So does all these departments you're talking about out in the county pay the county too?
No.
Volunteer services don't pay anything for dispatch. But in the original contract that we discussed many times, they included, the city's portion of that contract included the fire department and the ambulance service. Of course, back then the ambulance service was a volunteer service as well. And they're not anymore. And I'm not up here to debate what they should or shouldn't be paying. We're just talking about our agreement with the city. And getting back to that for some historical data for you, and the $55,000 payments actually go back as far as 2002. I think that's the first year that we had that agreement with the city, and they started paying $55,000 towards the dispatch budget. Now, if you look at that, in 2002, the total dispatch budget was $151,667 total budget. So that means the city's $55,000 contribution to that was 36.25% of the budget. I know we've had discussions about 50% over the last 3 years. I'm here to tell you tonight, that's not what we're asking for right now. We're not asking for 50%. Fast forward to, well, let's go to 2022. In 2022, the city is still paying $55,000 a year for the dispatch service, even though the total cost of dispatch has grown immensely in that time. So let's move to 2024, which was last year. During 2024, our total dispatch budget was $492,160. And because of the increases that you guys agreed to, your contribution was $102,500. Now, if we go back to 2002, you were paying us 36.25% of the budget. In 2024, you paid us 20.83% of the budget. During that same period of time, the county or the dispatch budget increased by 224% from 2002 to 2024. So, as you guys all know, every budget is increasing every year, right? You can't buy anything for what you bought it for last year. And if you tell them that's what you want, like, car cost me $40,000 last year, and this year you want $45,000 for it, well, I want to pay last year's price. I'm not getting a car if I say that, right? I have to pay what it costs. So, if you boil that all down, we're not asking for 50%. We're not even asking for the 36.25%, which would increase your payment to roughly $178,000 and change. If you were paying the same percentage today that you were paying back then, that's roughly what it would be. So, we're not asking that either. We're asking, commissioners are asking for a 30% increase in what you're currently paying. So you're currently paying $102,500. That increase would be $30,750, bringing the total for your contribution to $133,250 for 2026. That's roughly 27% of the total budget for Fall River County Dispatch. I know that public safety is a priority for you guys. It has to be. That's why we're here. That's why the county commissioners are there. That's why I'm here. That's why Ross is, the chief of police. This is all our priorities, and we just think we're not being unreasonable in asking this amount. I know it's a drastic increase over what you were paying 3 years ago, but you also went 20 years without any increase. And I'm not blaming any of you for that. I wasn't sheriff then. I didn't have any choice in making these increases. The county commissioners have changed over the years. All the city council has changed over the years. So I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just here giving you these statistics and telling you what we feel is reasonable. Actually more than reasonable, pretty generous. I know it's a hit, but we think it's reasonable, we think it's fair. That's what I have. And if Deb or Joe disagree with me or want to add something, I'm here for that. And if you guys have any questions for me, I'll try and answer them.
Other than your manpower, what is your investment in your communications? And is your communications at a standard where you don't have to renew them in the next 5 years?
Well, there are mandatory upgrades, which we just experienced. We put $275,000 roughly into our dispatch in the last year. Part of that was the Zetron upgrade. Part of that was moving to another facility or another building, which we're required to have a backup dispatch, and we were lacking that. And by doing what we did last year, we now have the old dispatch as a backup, the new dispatch center as our workspace, our current workspace.
So when you purchase this newer system and now you have a fallback system also, right? And so when you did that, what did they tell you as far as its lifespan for the communications? I mean, they had to have told you something when you went into this that at its very basic function is good for 5 years, 10 years, whatever.
I think they say 5 to 7.
And what is going to be the increase percentage-wise on top of this that you'll have to upgrade to? So what, out of that $275,000 that you just spent per se, what are they thinking is going to be your next upgrade, and what cost are you looking at?
They didn't know what this one was until it was installed, basically. I mean, when Frank was still the emergency manager, the commissioners and told them we were going to have to do this Zetron upgrade. We didn't have a choice. It was going to happen. He estimated it at the cost the last time it was done. And it was considerably more than that. So I can't tell you what it's going to be in 7 years from now. 2031, 32,
So, in this that we're discussing, this agreement, is this agreement, are you wanting to do this year by year? Are we looking at a 5-year agreement, or what are we looking at?
I think all of that is up for negotiation. I mean, we're not making a decision here tonight, right?
No, but
I think whatever we come up with, if you propose, an X amount increase, and you're willing to do that for 3 years and then look again, I'm not trying to speak for the commissioners here, that they would agree to that, but it would be something they would consider. I'm certain of that.
Yeah. The reason.
Sorry, Dave.
No, the reason I'm asking you, because in my honest opinion, they're just like us. Your boots on the ground.
Yeah.
You're the one that deal with it. You see what the prices are. And I'm not talking about your manpower. No matter what you have, what system you have, you're going to have the manpower cost. That's always going to be there. That's a given. But what I'm looking at is your investment constantly for a new system.
Yeah.
So is there a point in time where they tell you, once you get to this point, then your increase will be an upgrade, an update on your system? Or are you constantly going to be looking at spending, well, this $275,000, let's be honest about things. I know what communications for my facilities in California costs. Very well, you could be looking at $380,000 in 5 years.
So a big chunk of the change was actually moving from our old facility into the new one, which included having to put up the new antennas and everything on. I feel like I'm not being loud enough. Okay, so a lot of our money that went towards this new upgrade was moving out of the jail into the new building. That was putting up all the antennas, it was putting in the new furniture, pretty much everything. We had to pay to move our battery backup down there, so that was quite a chunk of change with that as well, but we had already purchased that too. So as far as our Zetron system, that is in charge of our radios. That's how we set off our tones, our sirens, our everything. That is also how we open up the jail doors down at the jail. We can still do that from a remote location.
Okay.
As far as our phone system, that the state of South Dakota upgrades every 4 years. We do not get charged a thing for that.
Okay.
So the Zetron equipment, the last time that was actually upgraded was in 2012. So we've actually had that for quite a while. And it did go above and beyond what it was supposed to, but is still partially functional being down at our secondary location.
Okay. So out of that $275,000, is that including the building? Or is that just broke down as actual informational equipment?
It's equipment and
antennas.
Yep.
Okay, so
plus the furnishings and things we put in there to make it workable. It had to be workable space. But we had to put in a mini split system to keep all of the servers cool in the server.
No, that to me goes with the equipment. That for me goes with the equipment. It's, they all have, you have to have all that in order for this to function.
Correct.
That is a given.
But those numbers aren't reflected in the budget that I'm talking about either. They're not reflected in the numbers that I gave you guys.
Okay. And until we read them all, I can pick your brain all night long and we still be guessing until we actually sit down and read them. But I was wanting to get the gist of what your investment, the county's investment is for communication. Now you tell me you have the antennas, the towers and everything. So that upgrade right there in itself should last you at least 12 years.
Yes.
That is just 2 years ago, that is what we discussed for our business. So that won't be a cost. So in the information you've given us, have you broke that down?
Which portion of it?
The information that you've sent around, are you just showing us what the actual cost is overall? Or have you broke it down so we see what?
That's not there are no costs in that information that I sent around.
Okay.
All that is calls for service and how
Okay.
they're broken up over the last 11 years.
Okay.
Okay.
So for each call that you have coming, what is the cost for one call? Say, per se, you got a call from Hot Springs, we have a fire, need to dispatch. What is the cost per call?
Well, you would have to take dispatch budget and divide it by the number of calls, I guess, but I can't give you a specific cost.
I mean, shooting from the hip, what would you say? I mean, come on, you guys do this for a living. I can shoot from the hip too for what I do for a living. But the thing is it a $5 cost? Is it a $7 cost? Is it a $25 cost?
Well, that's hard to answer because every call is different. You don't know if it's a domestic dispute where it's take two officers.
Yeah, that's why I used the fire thing, because then you're throwing it into one realm.
Right. I have no idea how to even answer that question, Dave.
Okay, all right. That's fine, that's fine.
And then
I'm a numbers person, so that's why, I mean, for me, the numbers is what I concern myself with.
Yeah.
The labor, I don't concern myself with, because I don't care if you're doing it with a cell phone, it's still gonna have to have manpower, okay?
And you know, technology, we know that every time we turn around, it's upgraded and it's
Every 18
outdated.
months, it's outdated.
It is, and we get bills all year long that something's out of state or out of service, and we need new technology to replace it and keep the dispatch center going.
That's why I was asking about-
A line of bills that come in.
That's why I was asking if this particular system has a 5-year shelf life, or do you have to do an upgrade program every year? That's kind of the things I would like to know.
I think it would be smart to put some money aside every year for that 7-year upgrade or 10-year upgrade or whatever it may be. I mean, day one when I walked in the door as sheriff, I walk in and they told me, well, we need a new battery backup, and that's going to be $25,000. You know, there was $0 saved for that. So I do think, but.
And we did talk about with this V-Tron, we did talk about that hit us like a ton of bricks. We had no idea it was coming, but we had to do it. And so we talked about at our meeting that we need to put money aside so that we have it next time without going way outside the budget. And we can designate money for that particular thing in the future.
Right.
But we were not prepared this year.
How much money do you get a year from the 911 $2 every phone pays every month? And you get that from all the Hot Springs residences, so essentially we're being double taxed.
I think that varies on the number of calls that you take, but
it's every month, every
if I had to break
phone.
it down, I would say it's probably somewhere around $10,000 or $11,000 a month, roughly. So you're talking about $20,000 a year.
So that's a little over
Without
20%, over 20% of your budget then.
What's that?
That would be 20% of your budget,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Close.
So Hot Springs contributes to half of that every year, because you get our 911 money. So I would like to get credit for the money that you get from that.
Again, these are all things you can negotiate.
Yeah.
In your
I'm
figures,
just
that
here telling you what we're asking for and giving you the numbers I can provide.
Ross, in your figures that you have showing county and city of Hot Springs, can you tell me what Edgemont contributed over the last 10 years and what Smithwick has contributed in those outlying areas in the last 10 years?
Well, Edgemont is the only city other than Hot Springs that is required to have law enforcement in Fall River County. And they contract with us. They pay us $115,000 a year right now for law enforcement services. Now, is dispatch included in that? There's no line item for dispatch. Sorry, no line item for dispatch in there, but I mean, obviously we dispatch for every entity out of Edgemont, fire, ambulance. all of those things. So I can't give you a number for specifically what they spend on dispatch.
But out of that 119, isn't some of that going towards the salary of an officer to be, to be available for Edgemont?
Well, it's revenue that comes into the county and goes into the general fund. It doesn't go back into my budget. But what it pays for, what they're buying from us, is 30 hours a week of patrol. And it's not a specific officer, it's every officer in the county. Every officer in the sheriff's office, I should say. We divide it up. I don't think it works well to have one officer as a quote-unquote Edgemont deputy. I think history has shown that that's not effective. But people dropping in randomly, you never know who's on duty or when they're going to be there, when they're not going to be there. It keeps them on their toes and it's more effective.
Understand, yeah.
Do you get any reimbursement from communities outside of Fall River County, like when you send an ambulance to that community?
The ambulance can get reimbursement, but I don't believe we get any reimbursement. The ambulance gets reimbursed.
The ambulance does.
Our dispatch does not get reimbursed.
Oh, they don't?
No.
Okay, I was just curious.
They don't give us, kind of like what Dave was saying, they don't give us $20 for taking a call for them. If that makes sense.
The sheriff is, I see from the data you've provided us, the ratio of calls that are within the city limits. The equipment is the equipment is the equipment. So I'm assuming that you haven't had to purchase any additional equipment because you dispatch for Hot Springs. Is that a fair statement?
Well, we had to buy all new equipment last year, but...
Well, but was because of the...
C-Tron upgrade.
Yeah, but yes. Because you dispatch for the city of Hot Springs.
Wear out radios because we dispatch for Hot Springs? No.
Yeah. I know you've had some pretty good luck recruiting here lately, and I think Melissa is probably really happy about that. She probably recognizes her home address now. Do you have additional staff because of dispatching for Hot Springs?
Well, right now we have 4 dispatchers, just like we had before we opened the new dispatch center. Did we have some people come in? Yes, but we also had a couple go out. So dispatch is a really tough job to hire people for. It takes a really special kind of person, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but qualifications to become a dispatcher, to be hired as a dispatcher, are greater than being hired to be a law enforcement officer. You can't have anything on your record to be a dispatcher. And then you add the weight, the stress, the unknowns of the job itself. It takes a very special person to do that.
I have full respect for Melissa and her colleagues. They do an amazing job.
I do.
You won't be getting an application from me. So.
So to follow up to Bill's question, if on Monday you no longer had to dispatch for the city of Hot Springs, would you reduce staff?
Would what?
Would you reduce staff, or would you still need the same amount of dispatchers to dispatch for the remaining calls that come in from Fall River County?
Keep our dispatch operating as it operates today.
So you haven't put on any additional staff because you dispatch for the city of Hot Springs?
No.
Okay. The other question that I have for you goes back to where do you want to end up? What amount are you ultimately looking for from the city of Hot Springs that you feel is a fair contribution from us?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
When we initially started these talks 3 years ago, the number was 50-50. Now, again, I'm not going to speak for the commissioners, but I don't know that that's a realistic number, especially when you start talking about things like Deb brought up, the 911 surcharge that we get reimbursed for. Those things, to me, some of those things should be deducted off of what we're asking the city to contribute. Absolutely. but because we don't want to double dip. Okay. But at the same time, if tomorrow you came to me and said, in 2026, we're not going to give you anything to dispatch, we're going to go off and do something ourselves. The dispatch budget, as it sits, is paid 100% by the taxpayers of Fall River County. It doesn't matter if, 300,000 of it is coming from the county and 100,000 is coming from the city. It's still taxpayer dollars that are paying for it, right? So we're not asking for an increase from the taxpayers. We're asking for the city to contribute a reasonable share for the work that we do for you. Okay. On the other hand, if you were to go someplace else, if you were to start your own dispatch service, or if you were to contract with somebody else other than us for your dispatch services, that would be an additional cost to the taxpayer, because our dispatch isn't going to shut down. We're going to keep running. And that amount that it costs to run that dispatch is not going to go down, even if you're not a customer. Let's just say a customer. I mean, we've had discussions in the past about countywide law enforcement, right? And some of the reasons that we don't think that would benefit anybody is because you have an 8-man city police department. I have an 8-man sheriff's office. There is no financial savings for either entity to join those. So, that being said, the city has said in the past that because there is no financial gain, they don't want to give up the power that they have with the police department. They don't want to give up that. Help me out, Bob. I know you know what I'm talking about. They don't want to give up their ability to make decisions for the police department, their control. And I understand that, especially when there's no gain. But let's talk about dispatch for a second. Aren't we actually doing county-wide dispatch? Isn't that what we're doing here? Especially if it's so close in the numbers, so close to 50-50. Isn't that what we're doing, is county-wide dispatch? And again, I'm not asking you for 50%. The commissioners aren't asking you for 50%, even though when you look at the numbers, that's what it is.
So respectfully, I still don't have a figure. You talk about 50%. The last number I believe I saw for dispatch costs were around 490,000. Correct me where I'm wrong. So
that depends on if we're fully staffed or not.
Okay, so let's just round that up to 500,000, because I'm dumb when it comes to math. So you talk about 50%. My direct question is, do you want to get to $250,000? That's what you feel the fair contribution from the city of Hot Springs is. And the reason I'm asking you that question is because Deb and Joe deferred that question to you. I have other questions for them when it comes to, what is the right amount, how do we get there, and all of that. But so that we know, is that where you're headed, is to $250,000?
So here would be my answer to your question. Let's say the budget is $500,000, and we get $120,000 from the surcharge. To me, that should come off the top. So now you're talking about $380,000, right? So that $380,000, if we're being completely transparent, if I'm being completely transparent, I think that should be split.
But don't you also get taxes from the city of Hot Springs citizens as a baseline as well? I mean, we're already paying as Fall River County residents, and now we're having to pay again as Hot Springs residents. So there again, we're paying double, or each citizen's paying double.
Well, Mayor Nelson asked me that same question earlier. And my question back to him was, if we weren't providing any dispatch services for the city of Hot Springs, would that tax amount that you give the county, would that go down? It would not. So that's not a factor in dispatch, in my mind. I'm sure some of you don't share that view, but in my mind, because that number doesn't change whether we're providing you dispatch services or not, then it shouldn't be factored in. I cannot stand here and tell you what every dollar you give us goes to. I can't do it. I can tell you that the county provides immense services for every citizen of Fall River County. And the breakdown of that, I can't give it to you. But I do know that it wouldn't change if we weren't dispatching for you.
Any other questions for Sheriff Norton?
I guess, I don't want to put you on the spot, Lyle, but the budget you're working on now, so we spent extra money last year, but we don't have to spend that money next year, so that's off the budget, right? I mean, it's not part of it.
And I don't know what you guys did as far as a contingency to supplement for those extra costs that we had last year. I know that my offices combined put over, don't have those figures in front of me, but we put somewhere close to $450,000 in revenue into the general fund last year. If our dispatch cost us $275,000, I think we covered that with that revenue that we brought in. None of this revenue that my offices bring in, whether it's the sheriff's office, the jail, dispatch, our contract with you folks, none of that revenue goes back into my budget. It goes into the general fund, my Edgemont contract. That doesn't supplement my budget, it just goes into the general fund. So I don't have any way to break that down other than what the totals are. But I know it was an added cost last year,
Right.
and I feel like we do enough, we bring enough in that we cover those costs, but if we're full-staffed, and hopefully we'll be full-staffed someday, but if we're full-staffed, the amount that dispatch costs us is going to go up. Right now we're paying 4 dispatchers, and yes, there's some overtime in there when you're operating 24/7 with 4 people, but you're still not paying the wages and benefits of 3 other people that we're supposed to have. So if you add those in, the numbers are going to go up. I don't know.
So how many, and that's one thing I wanted to point out. Dispatch is 24/7, so
Yes.
by rights, how many people should we have if we didn't want to pay overtime?
7.
7
say
people.
7 or 8.
And we run with 4 almost all the time, not because we're not trying to get more so we don't have to pay the overtime, but because we can't get people that can handle that job. And so there's no way we could operate with less than we have. I mean, I guess we have in the past,
It
but
would be extremely difficult.
but it's very
not sustainable.
difficult. And so, and the other part of that is because of the complexities of the job, the wages have to be reasonable to get somebody to do it too. And
Yes.
we all know that shift work is expensive anyway, so just wanted to throw that out there.
So as you talk about difficulties in staffing for dispatch, much as we do in the city, if we see repeated turnover in a particular department, to look within ourselves to try to understand why might that turnover be there, and have that serious conversation. Is it something we're not doing? Are we pushing people away? Rather than recognizing that there's talent there that maybe needs to be developed. So that would be my comment and my ask, is to make sure that, because you seem to have a long run of not being able to staff, honestly assess why that might be the situation.
And I appreciate that, but I also know how difficult the job is. And you might get somebody that is gung-ho, they're ready to come in, they want to do the job, they've come in, they've trained, and then when they're the ones in front of that phone and that call comes in and there's a kid screaming on the other end because, I don't know, grandpa got run over by the tractor and he doesn't know what to do, you lose people. They can't handle it. They think they can coming in, but when the rubber hits the road, it scares them. And we are talking about life and death. Absolutely. So, yes, we do go through a lot of people trying to come in and do that. Some of them last a day, some of them last a month, some of them last 3 or 4 months. And some of them last forever, you know, or our forever.
Like Melissa.
Yeah.
So,
We do have people who've been there for, you know, some time, but it's tough.
Okay. Any more questions for the sheriff?
I would like to, I'm sorry. I would like to ask just a clarifying question about the revenue. Did that include any percentage of property taxes paid by city residents, or is that just revenue that you're able to bring in through contracts like ours and Edgemont's?
It's just contract revenue.
And just to be clear, you said $450,000 in revenue?
Again, I don't have those numbers right in
Close
front of me,
enough.
but it was around that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And part of that, just so we're clear, part of that is because we were short-staffed in dispatch. So we didn't have to pay the wages that we normally would. We were short-staffed in the jail for a little while, and we didn't have to pay the wages and benefits that we normally would. So there's
I understand.
there are things that,
Variables.
while they save you money, they're not sustainable.
Not good.
Right.
But you're paying
Lyle,
overtime
I have
too.
a question. Is the ambulance service and the fire service, are they billed as any part of this equation, or are those tacked into ours?
As far as I know, they're still attached into yours. And fire, I think any volunteer service in Fall River County should just go along with the entity that they're in. You know?
Yeah, I didn't know if you asked for so much from them for the...
We don't ask the fire department for money. We haven't asked the ambulance for money, but there have been discussions about that because they are a paid service now. They're not a volunteer service. All these other fire departments, ambulance services, well, I don't know if they get revenue from a fire or from an ambulance call, but they're not a paid service necessarily.
Right.
And I don't feel like it's right to charge them.
And I want to thank dispatch service. It's a thankless job. You do a great job. Crime does not stop at 8-hour shift.
That's for sure.
And so that overtime can happen for whatever reason, and thank your officers. And Ross, same with you with your officers.
I have one question, it's just out of curiosity. Does dispatch have anything to do with Life Flight?
We dispatch Life Flight. Well, if, say there's a rollover act, I'll let Melissa answer that.
It's really short. So right now, if there's a rollover accident or if somebody's having a heart attack, some kind of life-saving need for Life Flight, what we would do is we page out for the Hot Springs ambulance or wherever, and then they would actually request us to contact Life Flight to have them to respond as well. We would contact the actual Black Hills Life Flight dispatch center, and then from there, they would turn around and actually do everything else. Then whoever the ground contacts would be, they would be the ones that are in communication with the helicopter.
Okay. That was a curiosity question.
There are certain criteria where they tell us, call us. A head-on accident out on the highway, call us.
Right.
We'd rather be called away than be needed and not be on the way.
Yep.
So, and I appreciate that from them too, because there's always a cost associated with that.
Oh, yeah.
I got a quick question. The tickets you write, where does the money for your tickets go to? The general fund, or does dispatch get some of that?
Goes to the state.
All your tickets go to
We
state?
don't get money off of tickets.
Really?
Lance can correct me if I'm wrong. We don't get any revenue. I'm not saying it doesn't come back around, a portion of it come back around to the schools, I believe.
Yeah,
but
it goes to
we
the
don't get any.
Yeah, all of that goes to the school. I was on the school board. So we tell people if you're going to speed in Fall River County or, you know, because the school gets
Yeah,
help.
it doesn't go into
Yeah.
our general food.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you guys for the service that you provide, personally and professionally.
Thank you, Lyle.
Got the butter in this out.
Thanks, Melissa.
So for me, back to Deb and Joe, and again, I want to thank you for giving of your time to be up here. I do have some questions, comments that I've been having with you ever since you had made the request of the city to increase the contributions for dispatch. Again, recognizing that for The sheriff had said since 2002. I thought it was 2004, 2025, or 2005. So we're looking at 20-plus years that both parties allowed that contract to go on at $55,000. And then recognizing at some point it needed to be adjusted. And my big struggle with this is wanting to get healthy overnight. To go from $55,000 to $380,000 in 5 years. And I'd put the question back to you when we first had this conversation, that if the shoe was on the other foot, you folks would be pushing back the same way we are if we would be asking for a 50% increase, a 24% increase, a 30% increase. Typically, that's not the way contracts work. If you enter into a contract with somebody, a high increase in that contract from year to year is probably going to be about 5%. So I had proposed early on, recognizing that this needed to change. Couldn't we start doing a much smaller incremental increase to get to recognize that we need to be contributing more? But you folks are working in a deficit. We're working in a deficit. So to go from 55,000 to half of 380. Wondered why you came back. I thought, well, what did I misstate here? So we'd be looking at half of 380, 190. Either way, to go from 55 to that amount in a very short time, that's a huge ask. And I've talked with the commissioners. I talked with Sheriff Norton. He talked a little bit about it tonight. Misty, I think, was beginning to address it a little bit. But when we look at the contributions that the city taxpayers pay to the county, we give you folks $1,046,000 every year.
Say that again, Bob.
In taxes, we give you folks $1,046,000 from the Hot Springs residents. That ought to go a long ways to paying for dispatch. When we talk about percent of calls from the city, makes perfect sense. Half the population in Fall River County is Hot Springs. So if we didn't have law enforcement here, you'd be handling those calls anyway.
And it wouldn't make any difference with your taxes.
No, it wouldn't make any difference with the taxes. You would still be getting that same amount of money. So that's my difficulty and my frustration with how quickly you want to get healthy. You would be pushing back exactly the same way we're pushing back if the ask was being made of you.
First of all, I would say is we're talking public safety here. And there's nothing more important to me as a commissioner as public safety for our citizens, be it the highway department and law enforcement. And if we're spending just under $500,000 a year to run a dispatch center, and we just showed you that we take your calls, about 50% of them, and you're only paying 20% of the bill for the year, we're selling the public short on this. We've got to stand up and take accountability.
Would you agree that city residents are also county residents, or do you see us separate?
Say that again?
Do you see city residents as county residents, or do you see them separately? You
They're
say
county
we're
residents.
giving you and we are doing, but are city residents, in your opinion, also county residents? Yes or no?
Well, we're all residents of the county, whether you live in the city or out of the city.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, but let's look at 2000. Why did you think it was okay to pay $55,000 at 36%? When you shouldn't have even done that. You're saying you shouldn't pay anything. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
We are paying.
No, but I'm saying you're thinking you shouldn't pay anything for dispatch.
Because we're being double taxed.
But we don't
essentially.
have to furnish dispatch to the city.
But we're Fall River County residents.
But we don't have to furnish it to the city.
So will you refuse calls for service to city residents?
I would say no, we wouldn't, but this is, yeah, I guess this is why the others didn't want to come, because they knew we'd be ambushed. So.
This isn't.
But anyway, the other, what we came here to ask is for the 30%, and you guys can talk it over, and if that's something you can't do, then yeah, I don't know where to go from there, but.
What would it cost you to run a dispatch center if you did not have the county?
It'd cost more than $130,000.
We could get some money.
Where do you take your prisoners?
We're required to take them to you folks.
That's right. And we take care of them.
Yeah. So the argument is not that at all, Joe. And the insinuation that this council doesn't take safety seriously is a disappointment from an elected official. That is not what this discussion is about. I think our police department would be the first to say that this council takes public safety very seriously with all the changes that we have made to support our police department. So that's disappointing. Again, my main objection to this is how quickly you want to get healthy.
Well, we've been unhealthy since 19...
and that is as much on the county as it is on the city. But you want the city to fix it in its entirety over a very short period. I don't see any willingness to recognize that it's going to take a little longer to get where you want to be.
How much time would you like, Bob?
Than 30% increases every year. We can have that discussion.
It wouldn't be, that doesn't make sense, 30% interest. So if we could, I like Deb and Lyle's idea of scraping the 911 off the top and stuff like that. And I agree that even though that was the ask, that I agree that smaller increments would be better. But we can't make them so small that you'll never catch up to, even if we, and I shouldn't probably say it because I don't have any authorization, I might get outvoted, but say we wanted to go up to that 35% that it started with, but not all at once. How are you going to get there by only 5% a year when the wages are going up probably that much? Too, I mean, you never can get caught up. So I agree with you, smaller increments would be better for you and probably fairer after we let it go so long. But it's got to be so that maybe in 5 years you're to the 30% or something.
So it was mentioned earlier that, remind me again, Sheriff Norton, how much the Sheriff's Department generated in revenue that went into the general fund?
That's not really a generation though, if you're...
So stick with me.
It's not just the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office, the dispatch, the jail.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay, so how much was that? That went to the general fund?
Roughly $450,000.
$400,000. All right. So in my mind, looking at that the same way that we look at our enterprise funds, our wastewater treatment, our golf course, and Evans Plunge, we expect them to generate revenue to cover the cost of their expenses. So in my mind, you generated the revenue. It ought to go back to the people who generated it, not into the general fund to be absorbed into other things that didn't generate the revenue. We don't do that with our enterprise funds. So in a sense, as a voter, you're being penalized by not receiving the revenue that you generated to go back into your department. And that creates the situation, it contributes to the situation that you find yourself in. I understand why an elected body would do that, why they would take that money and stick it in the general fund. It can be used other places. Then it comes back to you don't have enough to run your department, So you're asking for extra revenue. My
So,
take on that.
That's not how.
I guess, just something that popped in my head when you're saying that. Let's just, this year you're contributing $102,500? $102,500 to dispatch. That's revenue coming into the general fund, right? Now, are you saying that that should come into my budget, my dispatch budget,
Yes.
and then be deducted from the amount that you guys should pay because then you're double dipping?
No, I'm not saying that.
So-
I'm not saying that at all.
so here's-
I'm saying it
here's
should
how I
go
look
directly
at-
to you.
Here's how I look at the money that comes in, that the revenue that we bring in and ultimately goes to the general fund. The way I see that is, even if it's not on paper in black and white going back into my budget, when I ask for things, when I have to do a dispatch upgrade, when I have to buy new cars, when I have to do all the things that I have to do, I get very little pushback because the commissioners know that I'm generating revenue for the county. So even if it's not on black and white in my budget and it just goes into the general fund, they know it, they see it. Anybody, I mean, these contracts aren't a secret. Anybody can see what our contracts are, right? So everybody knows. And I've said it in open meetings. I said it here tonight. I've said it in county commissioner meetings. This is how much revenue we brought in last year. My offices. I'm not talking for anybody else in the county, just me. So does that make sense? Is that-
It does, and as a taxpayer, I'm advocating for you getting 100% of the revenue you generated. Not 60% of it, not 40% of it. I don't know that those are the actual figures, but you generated the revenue. It should go into your department for you to manage dispatch services, jail, all those kinds of things throughout the year. Not a portion of it, all of it.
I can appreciate that.
It's just not how.
I got a question. How do you generate income if you don't get any money from tickets and stuff you write?
Well, we jail for other counties and they pay us. Now, that's revenue coming in.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's profit. It's revenue because we sure don't make money in the jail. Dispatch, revenue from you all for providing those services for you. That's not a profit. That's just revenue coming in. So
It's
that-
only from us in the jail that you get revenue?
Edgemont would get $115,000 a year to provide their law enforcement. The Corps of Engineers pays us X amount of dollars a year to do lake checks at Colebrook and Cottonwood. The Forest Service pays us X amount a year to do checks on Cascade and Keith Park. And then we do what's called antelope patrol and deer patrol later on in the year. Those are all revenue streams that we bring in. Now, they're definitely not profit because when I'm out there patrolling deer patrol, let's say, they give us X amount per hour and X amount per mile. But we all know that we have maintenance on vehicles and you got to pay the deputies that are out there doing those patrols. And if it's a wash, it's good, but it still shows as revenue that I brought in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just not like a profit revenue because we're paying for the people that are in jail, even though somebody else might pay for it. And yeah, we're lucky if we come out even.
I still have to pay jailers their wages and their benefits and the operation of the jail and you guys know.
So a lot of yours could be taxes, like the city. We run off of taxes from the public. And a lot of your income's probably from taxes too?
Well, sure, isn't
Well, the
every
county,
government's income from
the
taxes?
only income the county gets is personal property tax. That's it.
And you want us to pay more even though you're taking taxes from the taxpayers of Hot Springs. So you want us to pay you guys taxes and on top of that, pay for other things for the county to operate. The city don't get more money from the taxpayers to operate different things. I mean, we get money for taxpayers, for the police department. But we don't get extra money from, you guys to help us to
But
run
the
the
city
police
doesn't
department.
provide all the services that the county provides either. I mean, you can't go to the city hall and buy your license plates. You can't go to city hall and get a copy of your birth certificate. You can't go to city hall and get a lot of things that you can go to the courthouse or other offices in the county and get. That's what those tax dollars help us pay for.
All right. We have a short agenda that I think shouldn't take us long to get through, and in my mind, council, we're going to need an executive session to discuss the ask from the county. I want to make sure that I have the numbers correct. Currently, we're paying $102,500. You folks are asking for a 30% increase over that amount. That would come to $133,250 is what your current ask of the council is.
It would be, yeah, 30
And deducting the 911 calls from your total budget, that would come down to around $380,000. And you feel the city's fair contribution of that is half, so that would be $190,000. That's where you would like the city to get to in some time frame.
You're asking me these questions, and yes, I would say that would be 50% of dispatch. I think that would be reasonable, but
We're not asking for that.
I don't get to decide these
Yep.
things. I'm just giving you numbers.
But I'm asking you that question because the commissioners deferred that question to you.
If you're asking me, my opinion, yes.
All right.
50% of that 380.
So then to Deb and,
Not this year.
right, to Deb and Joe, is that accurate? Do you see that?
Not this year.
No, not this year.
No.
But again, are you two, and recognizing you're only 2 of 5, you can't speak for them, no decisions are made tonight, but is the 190 where you see it at?
Well, I'd like to, I don't know what Joe thinks, and this is just an individual, it's not. I'd like to get to the point where we look at the budget and it would be the 30% of, you know, not that we're there yet, but that we get to that point where we'd have a consistency of a certain percent. And I'm thinking 30, but I know Lyle wants 50.
Okay.
We realize that 50% increase is being unreasonable to ask you folks.
Yeah.
And that's why we was asking the 30% for this year.
Okay.
But my bottom line is you should be paying 50% of the dispatch costs in years down the road.
Okay. So
But I'm just one commissioner.
just as they're 1 of 8. That's why I say no decisions will be made tonight, but there necessarily will be discussions that they have to see where they want to land. All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
As I'd said to you, I don't know if I used the word ambush, but this was never intended to be an ambush.
No.
This was intended to be an open, honest discussion, both parties sharing their concerns and gathering information.
It just shocked me when you didn't think you needed to pay anything. I guess that was a little scary.
Thank you both for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, we
Thank
do
you.
appreciate your time and your honesty.
All right. On to our next new business, item B. Can I get a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the Southern Hills Aviation Hangar Space Lease Agreements?
I make a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the Southern Hills Aviation Hangar Space Lease Agreement. Lease provides SHA 5,400 square feet of hangar space at 25 cents per square foot plus 150 per month for average utilities. Term is for 1 year with an automatic renewal for additional 2 years.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question. They were paying 35. Why are we going down to 25?
So they were originally paying 35 cents a square foot for, what was it, 1,200 square feet?
I think
1,400 square feet. So,
You pay less when you get more, kind of.
to keep our rates reasonable, consistent, and fair, we reduced our rate. Additionally, I believe that the 35 cents also encompassed utilities when it was originally drafted a few years ago. So we've increased the square footage and also added an additional utilities cost. So right now, or with the previous agreement, SHA was paying $490 a month. So with the...
Was they complaining about the 35?
When the 35 also encompassed utilities, yes. So it wasn't seen as a fair number that was being proposed.
We were looking at competition too, weren't we?
The other thing that we noticed is that the 35 cents is closer to a commercial rate. And we've looked around, and the likelihood that we would get another commercial business, aviation related, because it has to be aviation, to get somebody in there at 35 cents a square foot, the likelihood of that happening is very, very low. So recognizing that increasing the space for the current occupants, having them pay for utilities at a smaller rate, as Jacqueline said, current monthly is $390, and we're going up to $1,500 a month revenue from them. So we're significantly increasing the monthly revenue from them, but yes, the square footage is being reduced.
Were they gonna leave or something? I mean, I don't understand why we're going down, even though they're paying utilities.
At 34 cents of the commercial rate, the likelihood that they would have been able to stay there wasn't going to happen.
But then they gotta find another airport that houses it.
Oh,
I think
We
they
were
being-
encountering that competition.
Where else is it gonna go?
Spearfish.
Did anybody check on that to see if it's legit?
Yes, our airport manager did check on that, yes.
And Spearfish said yes.
Yes.
They had land, they have land available.
They didn't have a hangar.
They had a hangar.
No.
They did. It was confirmed by Ivan. Under new management.
I just don't think that, I mean, if you guys owned houses and rented them out, you wouldn't go down every month or every year in your rent.
Well, this is a good deal for the city because right now, their business has been growing, and so they are paying for the footprint they are using. And according to the airport manager, there are not planes waiting to go into that hangar. So we are getting money for that hangar space every month, month in and month out for the term of the contract without worrying about transient or part-time rental space. And so this gives us a consistent and a consistently larger cash flow for the airport, even though it is 10 cents a square foot less. But it's a bigger footprint, and additional to that, they're bringing in sales tax revenue. So I personally don't believe I don't believe the city is is losing anything on this new contract.
How many do we have available right now, hangars?
This is unique. This is our only hangar space rental agreement. We don't have any other space available for this type. We have hangar space for planes, but for commercial business, this is unique.
Okay, so they're taking up the whole hangar now?
Half?
No, they're taking up 5,400 square feet.
About half.
It's half. as depicted in Exhibit A.
Yeah, you'll see on
That is not.
on the diagram, the area that's being rented out to, for storage.
And
Did they get it? Yeah.
this is somebody in there that's gonna pay every month with a renewal in a year's time for 2 more years.
Yep.
That gives us a monthly income that go towards our expenses.
We're getting 4 times the amount of money every month.
So I think it'd be a right move.
These numbers weren't agreed on without lots and lots of conversation and multiple proposals.
And it's a huge draw to have mechanics at our airport. That's just huge. I wouldn't want to lose them.
We need to build that business, and obviously, you want every square inch to be paying for itself with a profit margin, but until you got people knocking at the door willing to give you extra in order to get in the door, this is the way you build a business.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Jacqueline, thanks for your hard work on that.
Yep.
The motion passes. On to new business, item C. Can I get a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the easement and right-of-way for life of structure?
I'll make a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the easement and right-of-way for life of structure, granting an easement and right-of-way for life of the structure for the building located on property described as lots 1 and 2, block 3 of Petty's addition to town, now city, of Hot Springs, Fall River County, South Dakota, which building now encroached on Detroit Avenue by 7 feet, plus or minus.
Second.
Dave?
Thank you.
Discussion? Craig, did you get your questions answered on this?
I did, thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business, item D. Can I get a motion for recommendation from Public Works Committee to join Western Dakota Regional Water System?
Make a motion to approve the recommendation from Public Works Committee to join the Western Dakota Regional Water System as an associate member.
Second.
Discussion? Bill, I think this was one of the last things that you worked on as chair of Public Works.
Yeah. Have reported through Public Works on this for on and off for several months, and we've got Jim Jones here with AE2S, who is also with Western Dakota Regional Water System. This is a conceptual plan that's currently in progress to bring Missouri River water to the Black Hills area. It's still in its conceptual stages. What this does, if the council approves this tonight and City of Hot Springs joins as an associate member, it's projected, and Jim, please come to the mic and you can straighten me out on anything I say that's incorrect. The project is probably 20 years out before it would come to completion and we'd actually see water from the Missouri River. If Hot Springs needed the water, by becoming an associate member now, we could purchase that water at a member rate. Don't know what that rate would be, so I'm going to call it X. If in 20 or 30 or 40 years we were not associate members at this time and we needed the water, we could still purchase it, but the price would be 2X or 3X or some multiple of X. So it'd be much more expensive for the city to obtain that water if we needed it. The cost of an associate membership is $375 a year. If at some point we look at it and say, we are just so convinced that we will never need this potential source in the future, we can get out. No harm, no foul, no payout fee. We just let them know we don't want to be members anymore, and we stop paying the dues. Jim, you want to fill in any blanks that I've obviously left?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Jim Jones. I'm from Blackhawk, part of the AE2S engineering team, part of the tech team for the Western Dakota Regional Water System. Everything you said is accurate. I appreciate that. We've had a number of open houses here in Hot Springs, and we've been in communication with city leadership now for 2+ years. So we are asking all communities that could be in the region of the pipeline that will be established to consider membership. Most large communities are members. We have between cities and individuals over 40 members now in Western Dakota. You are the last of the larger communities to consider membership. Most have. The Rapid City, Box Elder, Spearfish, Sturgis, Rapid Valley, your neighbors down here, Fall River, Water Users District, Southern Black Hills, the city of Edgemont, they are all members already. Yep. I'm happy to answer any questions on the project, but as Bill said, we're in the middle of the feasibility study for the project now. So some of your questions, how much water might cost, how much is the total for the project, it's all just conceptual now, so I can't give you great numbers, and I can't tell you how much 1,000 gallons of water will cost today, because I don't know who all will be members, how much water that we'll need to bring from the river, how large the pipeline needs to be from the river, how many booster stations will be part of the project. All of that is being engineered and designed currently, but by the end of 26, we should be able to answer a lot of those questions. We have to know how many folks are members in order to answer those, and we need to know the likelihood of how much water that they will use and how soon they'll need that water. So
The next level of membership up would be a voting member. So what of significance would the city lose out on by not being a voting member?
well, you should know that you can always change your membership. So if you agreed to be an associate member today and you wanted to change that membership to a voting member, you could do that still in the future. For communities that have 200 connections or more, the Class 1 voting member is $1,500. For communities that are 200 connections and less, voting membership is $750.
Each one of these communities, are they going to have a discharge and pumping station that's going to be designated for them, or are those going to be split off?
We look at conceptually, it's a big lift to bring water from the Missouri River to the Black Hills. We're probably looking at about 5 booster stations required, but once it's out in the Box Elder area, I don't anticipate we'll need another booster station to bring water south.
But as per se, industrial agriculture, I work with California Aqueduct System, okay? And depending on demand, farm availability and land operations, just because you figure in so many pumping stations as you exceed that, who votes on where the pumping stations are going to be? Does the associates, if you upgrade, if you start off now as an associate, but you want to become a voting member further down the road, does that give you voting right to where the pumping station's going to be? Or have you got that far in your setup?
We're not that far yet, but you should know that Western Dakota has a board of directors, and it's managed by the members. So of those communities that are members, the leadership of Western Dakota is voted on by those communities and represented by those communities.
Now, this conception, when it came to be, was that more so encouraged by East River or West River?
Could you ask that again, please?
When this conception came to be, bringing the water in, was that more so interest for East River or West River side?
All West River. Yep. This idea is popular East River already. There's a number of regional water systems. Lewis and Clark Rural Water, for instance, is a large one that's supplying water to eastern South Dakota and parts of Iowa and parts of Minnesota.
And do you have any idea how many services are going to be per pumping station?
I do not.
Okay. So you're barely in the engineering of this all put together. Do you have any idea what the request and volume of water is?
Conceptually, if this is difficult to answer to, but roughly we're designing a water treatment plant for 90 million gallons per day. The assumption there is that during an extreme drought, many communities might need
potable water.
Yeah, a large supply to offset their existing source. Western Dakota is a regional water system that's looking to subsidize current water supply. For most of our members, there may be a handful. I can think of 2 that may find that they would want to completely use Western Dakota water and not subsidize from their existing because they have either capacity issues or quality issues that this water source could alleviate.
So Bill was saying that $375 a year?
A year.
But that's not a voting member.
That is not a voting member, and you cannot be on the board of directors.
And at any point in time, you said you can upgrade your membership
That's
to
correct.
a voting?
Yes.
Even up to the point of water is flowing?
Yes.
One other question, Jim, and just, I think I know the answer, but I want to make sure that council understands. If the project becomes a reality, is there any capital cost that the city would incur for the project, or would it simply be a water rate fee that the city would be responsible for?
We anticipate offsetting those costs through rates.
So, water bill may be ugly, but there's no balloon payment of $20 million to cover the pipe.
As part of the feasibility study that we're doing now, if we can't make the project feasible, no community will want to move forward.
Okay, thank you. That's, I think, an important thing to remember or for all of us to understand, and I wanted to make sure I was clear on that to be part of this, we're looking at a fee for water, not a cost per capital. Okay, thank you.
Do you have any idea when this project is starting?
Once the feasibility study is complete, we'll be looking for congressional authorization to work with the BOR, which is required to pull water out of the Missouri River. Western Dakota Regional Water and its partners, Rapid City, Rapid Valley Sanitary District, Box Elder, have water rights. West Dakota has water rights to the Missouri River. Just one of the reasons we looked at the Missouri as a way to offset the supply that's needed during extreme droughts. But in order to take that water, we'll need to be authorized.
And you don't, at this point in time, you don't foresee any lawsuits coming up to stall you as far as the volume of water you're going to be pulling from the Missouri?
That 90 million gallons per day, in theory, is accounted for with water rights currently.
Can you confirm this statement for me, Jim? I found some information on your website, and I want to make sure it's correct. Joining does not establish a contractual right to future water access. Is that a true statement?
That is a true statement. What we would be looking at is allocations as part of the project.
So you're not looking to allocate those that aren't members?
Only those that are members can be included in those allocations.
Thank you.
So why would we not look at being a voting member at $1,500 a year annually? It's not like it's going to break me and I'm going to jail tomorrow because I paid a $1,500 bill.
So I've got a bit of a cheap, believe it or not, I do have a cheapskate streak that runs through me.
But I was just thinking, if we're going to be $750 or $350 a year but not be a voting member, it really doesn't make any sense that we shouldn't.
We can change later if the project moves forward, because it's still a big if.
That is correct.
So,
But there again, we're not going to be here come that time, and who knows what kind of council people we're going to have in. Maybe the same kind that let that dispatch service go at the same price for as many years as they did.
What are you talking about?
I guess.
Who knows?
I guess my thought, JR, to give a less flippant answer is, it's important to do it now because to complete their feasibility study, they need to know what communities, how many connections to design for. So that's why the ability to be a member, that door is going to close within a few months. In fact,
There hasn't been a hard deadline.
but it's not eternal.
It is closer today than it was
Yeah.
when we started.
And so my thought was, if council would go ahead and make the decision tonight, Public Works can continue this discussion, and in some period of time, continued discussions. We talk with Jim often. In a few months, if the decision is no, we really do need to up it to a voting member, then I think we can certainly do that. But I think it's important as a minimum to do it as an associate member tonight.
Just a question, Sully.
Johnny, nobody runs against you. You can be here till you die. So
No,
don't
I will
worry
not.
about it.
No, I will not.
can I just ask one more question from the research that I did on your website? It seemed like the concerns about future water supply were primarily in western South Dakota or Pennington County, like Rapid City. So this all started from a study that was done by the School of Mines.
That's correct.
And so the towns and communities that you've identified as joining on early, they have a future potentially substantial need for additional water.
Yes.
And is it a true statement, because I read this in our comprehensive plan, that our community currently has a surplus of water availability? So we're not using that determination to buy into membership, and this membership could potentially bring water all the way down to us, or just bring water to them that we could figure out how to get to us if we needed it later?
No, the plan is to have transmission lines from the metro area around Box Elder running both north and south.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't think I'm putting words in your mouth, Jim, but where Edgemont is a member also, that helps our position in that I think there would be planning to put a supply line to Edgemont, which would bring it closer to us, whether it's down 89 or down 79.
Yes. Yep, agreed. Yep.
Thank
I
you.
also looked at the possibility, because you have extra capacity today, that there's potential that there could be some regional water sharing that Western Dakota could help facilitate before the pipeline is out to the Black Hills. It's a big idea, nothing you'd have to agree to be a member. There's a few locations where that makes sense. The metro area, for instance, there's some possibility of regional sharing between Rapid City and Blackhawk and Rapid Valley and maybe the city of New Underwood. Box Elder, part of that metro. We also looked at the Northern Hills and Butte Mead Water, Belfouche, Spearfish have some possibility. Whitewood also. Our water-rich communities today have some possibility of sharing with maybe communities that don't have the same supply or the same capacity. And then the Central Hills and the Southern Hills are also regional areas that we looked at. Because this project is 20 plus years in the making, is there something we can do before then that could help some of the communities that need extra capacity or better water quality today? And I think you're in a position here in Hot Springs where that could work also.
Just a side question. The School of Mines, you said, is the one that done this, brought it forward.
Yes.
In their study, the drawdown on the Ogallala, was that part of that study?
They only looked, the mine study only looked at Western Pennington County because it was funded by West Dakota Water Development District. And primarily their interest was the Rapid City area. So we looked at the mine study, looked at the Madison Aquifer and the Minnelusa Aquifer specifically. Since then, Western Dakota has contracted with USGS and has expanded that study to include all of the Black Hills. And what we have seen is if we break up the Black Hills into 9 different regions, there are some areas that are definitely in a deficit and that their supply outstrips water recharge. But there's other areas that have excess capacity.
Right.
So as part of this study and the feasibility, we are also looking at other ideas besides just the pipeline from the Missouri River. The reason why the Missouri River pipeline makes sense, especially up front, is because the future water use has been secured. And for like the community of Rapid City, there's a cost to keep those future use rights. They have been renewing their future use permits since the 70s when they were initially established. So it's been a number of decades where they continue to renew those rights. And West Dakota also had rights. And the reason they contracted with the School of Mines to do the study was they asked the question, should we continue to perpetuate paying these renewal fees? Are we ever going to use them? And the mine study concluded, yes, you're going to use them, and you should really start looking at how you could utilize them today.
Thank you.
So that's how Western Dakota formed.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Drive careful going home.
Yeah, thanks for sticking it out to be here for this.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. On to new business, item E. Can I get a motion to set a public hearing on August 4th at 7:10 PM?
I make a motion to set a public hearing on August 4th at 7:10 PM to act on the on-off sale retail malt beverage and South Dakota Farm Wine license application from Whiskey River LLC to be used at 445 North River Street.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business, item F. Can I get a motion to appoint Larry Pratt to the library board?
I make a motion to appoint Larry Pratt to the library board for a 3-year term beginning June 2025 through 2028.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Was that month correct?
Yeah.
Should be July.
Yeah, theirs run through June according to their bylaws.
Oh, okay,
He's a month late.
okay.
So the motion passes. And our last new business, item G. Can I get a motion to approve a travel training request from Assistant Finance Officer Ariel Allison?
Make a motion to approve a travel training request for Assistant Finance Officer Ariel Allison to attend the Great Plains Governmental Finance Officer Association mini conference in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, August 6th through the 7th.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. We're already deep into the evening, council, and I apologize that we are going to need an executive session to figure out for ourselves what we want to budget for dispatch costs and to let the county know where you're at. So we're going to forego the committee reports. I do have something I would like to share, and you'll understand why when I get to a couple of them. But Jacqueline's not with us. Misty, do you have anything you want to update the council on?
No.
All right. So we'll go into, Jacqueline, do you have anything you want to update the council on?
No, I don't, thank you.
All right, I'll try to get through this quickly. I want to thank the South Dakota VFW and the Hot Springs Rattlers for allowing me to participate in their opening ceremonies on Friday, July 12th, by throwing out the first pitch for the 12 and under state baseball tournament. This 3-day tournament was made possible by the many Rattler coaches, players, family members, and volunteers that came together to host this baseball tournament that was attended by 8 teams from across the state. Also, congratulations to the Rattlers for placing 5th overall in the tournament. I also want to thank the Pioneer Museum Board for including me in their grand reopening. On Sunday, July 13th, I was asked to be a part of a ribbon cutting to open new exhibits for the families of Charles Hergens Jr. and Beal O'Donnell to share their family art with the public. Our 2026 budget meetings are Tuesday, July 29th and Wednesday, July 30th, 5 p.m. at the Mueller Center. I want to thank Jacqueline, Misty, and all the department heads for working to trim their budgets to only necessary expenditures. The general fund department heads met as a group on July 16th to go over their department budgets, and thanks to their efforts, we're starting our budget talks at a much smaller deficit than we have for a number of years. Council, I would ask that you would stop by City Hall, and your signatures are encouraged on a certificate that will make sense to you when you see it, and hopefully are on board with signing it. I don't want to share any more than that, but it needs to be ready for our August 4th meeting. So if you could find time to stop down at City Hall, I would appreciate that. Jacqueline has it in her office for review and signatures. And Dave and Craig, would you stop by City Hall within the next couple of days? I have a number of things to update you on before the next Public Works meeting on July 28th, and the wastewater treatment alternatives review meeting on Wednesday, July 30th.
Friday.
Do you have any questions for me? If not, JR, I need a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion, we go into executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2-3, legal.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And there won't be any action taken after executive session.
Any of you ladies bring a pillow and a blanket?
It's non-public.
The motion passes. Have a good evening.
You opposed?